Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very special episode. We had Dimitri from Mountain of Inspiration and Steve from Disruptive Wealth Creation joined for a discussion, and a very important discussion. We talked about space, we talked about technology, we talked about macroeconomic conditions, and we talked about a retail investor, what we should be doing in this current market condition. This was a fun conversation, and if you end up enjoying today's conversation, make sure to not just hit the like on this video, but also follow Mountain of Inspiration and Steve from Disruptive Wealth Creation and watch their channels. They have some very good content that you would definitely enjoy. So without further ado, let's see how the conversation went today.
Should we be investing in space? Should we maybe be spending more money on planet Earth rather than wasting money in space? Is space a good thing or a bad thing? Tell you a little bit about Virgin Galactic and what they're doing, and see if I can inspire you and show you why I think it might be a good idea to invest in Virgin Galactic. But they've got two projects on the go. So the first project, which is one that is not known a lot about, is the idea of reducing the amount of time it takes you to get from one country to another country. So, for example, if you wanted to travel from Los Angeles in USA to Tokyo, Japan, that will take you 12 hours. Now, with the Mach 3, which is the Virgin plane that is being tested at the moment, you could do that within 3 to 4 hours. So the question is, how do you think that can be done? Well, basically what happens is the plane flies up to 60,000 feet. So it's basically, it's hovering on the edge of space. And all it has to do is just sit there and wait for the planet to turn around. And then it just drops. And that's how it gets there quicker. So it's a kind of crazy, it's sort of almost science fiction kind of philosophy and idea, but it's actually reality. And this is what Richard Branson is working on. But that's the first project. But the second project, which is the one that we all know about, is to do with I don't know if you saw, but on the 11th of July, Richard Branson went up into space on his own with a few other people. And basically, again, what they did was they took off from New Mexico and they just orbited the Earth, and then they came back down. I mean, there's loads of people that are interested in going up into space. The only problem is that they've been waiting since 2005 to do this. And now Richard Branson is saying that the flights will take place in 2023. Okay, so, you know, people have been waiting for 17 years. And every time an announcement is made, then they say, oh, we're not ready yet. It could be next year or the year after. So it's been 17 years waiting. And hopefully 2023 will be the day when we see ordinary people going up into space. You want to tell us something about Blue Origin?
Blue Origin is not a publicly traded company at the current point in time, so you cannot invest in Blue Origin. It's a private. If it IPOs, I'm sure there will be a lot of takers into Blue Origin. For my taste, I do not think I would invest in a company like Blue Origin at the current market condition, because yes, space travel is important, but I don't think it's there yet. Not in 2023, not in 2024. For people like us, I don't think we are there yet.
Virgin Galactic shares are now hovering around about between $4 to $5 a share. Mm-hmm. Now, if we go back a couple of years, at their peak, they were at about $64. So you can imagine what a big drop that is. And I think one of the biggest issues that Virgin Galactic has got, as compared to something like Blue Origin, you know, which obviously is not on the stock exchange, but at the same time is trying to get into space, is that most of the work that Blue Origin are doing is in space. And in space, you have fewer regulations, whereas Virgin Galactic, because it's an aeroplane, a lot of the flying is done on our planet. And because of that, there's more regulations and more hoops to get across. As much as we hate to see all these delays, the last time when Virgin Galactic had an accident, after the accident, it took them 7 years before they were able to gain the momentum to start thinking again about going up into space. So any accident can push a project back many, many years. And that's why, you know, it's important for them to get it right the first time and not have problems. And Virgin Galactic has had fatalities even in the testing of their airplanes. Are we spending too much money on space and investing in space, or should we be sort of spending more money on starving people on planet Earth? Have you any thoughts or feelings about that?
My answer would be definitely answer of caution. Absolutely, we need to actually keep investing in space, keep investing, and making sure that, as a matter of fact, that we do all that we possibly can to discover what is out there in terms of resources, because that's how the human society grows. If we stay stagnant, we only focus on what we have in front of us. Eventually, we're going to get to a place of reaching a ceiling, and basically things will start going down. So we need to actually keep exploring and pushing people like Elon Musk, Sir Richard Branson, and Jeff Bezos to keep going as far as they possibly can to actually discover what needs to be discovered. That's absolutely the key thing. And those of us, those of the investors, we can actually take advantage of the current market situation to start investing in companies like Virgin Atlantics, because if the price is right now down to $5 a share, I believe it's a great opportunity. Keep investing, keep doing whatever you can. But for the general population, I would simply say it may not be the right time, because, of course, inflation has reached some number that is so crazy. Right now in America, it's at 8.2. Yeah, it's completely crazy. It's midterm election in America, but people don't really care so much about the election. All they care about is, what is the dollar that I have in my hand can actually help me put on the table? And that's the focus for most people right now, as far as America. So America as a country, and also Canada as a country, that's our focus right now when it comes to the most general population.
I think I completely agree with Dimitri and Steve, both of you. People who make these comments that we should not spend money on space, we should not spend money on these other initiatives, and we should focus on poverty and all these other problems. The problems is these other problems have existed since human beings have been on planet Earth.
Yes.
So if you think that not going to space is going to solve that problem, I think we are sorely mistaken. Governments are always running in deficit, whether from a budgetary standpoint. They are not going to take the dollar and they're not going to give it to a homeless person, because if that was the case, you wouldn't find homeless people in one of the richest countries in the world, which is US. You still find them. It's not one to one. That if I don't invest in space, I'll take that money and I'll give it to people who are homeless. It does not work like that. Economy doesn't work like that. And I think it's a very myopic view of looking at things.
I believe it's absolutely key for us to understand that technology is not here to actually hinder us or to make life difficult, or it's just some kind of a game that people are playing. But it's definitely something that we need to actually build a better future. And let's just put things in perspective. Last year I was in Africa. I traveled to Africa in 2021, October 2021, and I went to visit the country where I was actually born. When I left the country 30 years ago in 1992, the population was at about 30 million people back in 1992. I went back almost 30 years later, the population was at 95 million. So you can see that the growth is such that we need to figure out exactly how we need to actually support all this growth. So where is it going to come from? So we need to figure out exactly how we're going to use technology more specifically to help us navigate this new world that we're actually building at the fast pace. So I'm definitely for technology. I'm simply saying, yes, let's try to figure out exactly how to use technology to actually help us interact better and to live better. Because right now, as we can see, we have reached a place where we used to depend so much on fossil fuels, and fossil fuel is now failing us. So we're looking for people like the Sir Richard Branson of the world to help us figure exactly how to navigate without depending so much on fossil fuel. And this is what technology needs to play, the part it needs to play.
The population will continue to grow. And we on Earth, we only have limited resources. People who are leaders and visionaries, they are not just seeing for themselves, they're seeing 100, 200, 300 years. How can we help our future generations? And I think that's what matters. I mean, I think for our generation, we are okay. I think we'll get by. But it's not about us. It's about the future generation that's coming. Looking at the macroeconomic conditions today, inflation, election, and the war in Ukraine, as an investor, how are you looking at the next 2 quarters?
From my perspective, what I've been doing is I've been selling a lot of my shares. Now, the reason I've been selling them is because I'm holding on to this money. I'm waiting for shares to drop even further so that then I can buy the same shares back and obviously make a profit. I think we call that day trading. So that's what I'm doing, because I still think we haven't bottomed out I think we're still going further down before we bounce back up.
That's a very smart strategy. I mean, I wasn't actually thinking in terms of that, but I think I may borrow that because most people that I know, what they're doing is, I'm not a full-time trader. I'm not a full-time investor. So what I do is I just keep my eyes closed and I just hope that things get better because when they open the portfolio and look at everything, it's very depressing. It is very, very depressing. And the truth is, over the next 2 quarters, things are not going to get better. Chances are they're going to get even much worse. That's just the bottom line.
I agree with both of you. I think the next 2 quarters are going to be very tough. We would see these bear rallies where market would go up 3, 4, 5%, and then guess what? 2 days later, the market will dip down again, and your portfolio is in red. Unless you are trading where you're able to take advantage, which I don't think most retail investors are that way. They're more investors. If you are selling your stocks, keep in mind also the tax implication because year is ending and tax season is coming up. So keep that in mind. Thank you to both the panelists for joining in today's discussion. It was a very informative discussion and we got to hear different perspectives from these panelists. I really hope you also enjoyed today's conversation, and if you did, make sure you go to Steve and Dimitri's channel, hit like, click on subscribe and ring those bell notifications. Till next time, but don't forget to invest for tomorrow.